Story of the week is the future of the filibuster. We know that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer delivered an ultimatum to the Republicans. He told them to knock it off with the anti-voting rights legislation. And so he is threatening to actually do something about the wall that the Republicans have built. And simply, Jenkins, and hopefully we'll talk about this a little bit, that wall is not just built on the federal level. I mean, look at what they're doing in state houses all across this country with 550 pieces of legislation having been introduced in 47 states. So that attack on voting rights and democracy itself is happening at all levels. But he gave an ultimatum. So on Monday, Senator Schumer said the Senate must adapt to respond to moves to restrict access to voting. No stuff. I want to say the other word. No. Okay, we with the members, I can actually say that. So Tom Porter of The Insider, and we'll put that up, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer sets his target on the filibuster, the trademark feature of the Senate, which means that most legislation requires the votes of at least 60 of the 100 senators to pass. And then Senator Schumer wrote, the Senate was designed to evolve and has evolved many times in our history. The fight for the ballot is as old as the Republic. Over the coming weeks, the Senate will once again consider how to perfect this union and confront the historic challenges facing our democracy. And that was from Senator Chuck Schumer. My.
Yeah. So now let's get real. So what do we think is actually going to happen? Because Democrats have, huffed and puffed, or at least some portion of them, about, the filibusters blocking all progress, and Schumer is in that category. Others have been non-committal, like Joe Biden, and then you've got the Manchin wing, obviously, that's supporting the filibuster. So now you do need all 50 to say yes to get rid of the filibuster. So do we think that we're going to have a so-called democracy exception, which obviously is, if we're keeping it real, totally made up, right? On the filibuster. On the other hand, the filibuster is totally made up. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah, since it's a Senate rule, it has nothing that moors it to the Constitution or the law.
That's right. It's not legally binding. And I'm glad you brought that. I don't think so, because we have two Democrats, the what you call Manchin cinema, enema, whatever you call it.
Manchinima?
Manchinima, enema. Yeah, those two people who are saying they're not going to budge. So the fact that you're saying let's get real, I think that this is all show. And I hope that I am proven wrong. And then can we just put up the rest of what Senator Schumer had to say, Jink? And I want you to respond to this, because he goes on to say that we hope, living in hope, we hope our Republican colleagues change course and work with us. But if they do not, the Senate will debate and consider changes to Senate rules on or before January 17th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, to protect the foundation of our democracy, free and fair elections. Jesus. Okay, G, you respond. I'm gonna respond after you. I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah, to be fair to Chuck Schumer, when he says we hope our Republican colleagues will work with us, of course, he doesn't believe that either. He's just saying that, like, well, look, if you're going to give us no choice if you don't work with us. So, there's plenty of reasons to criticize Democratic leadership, but that isn't one of them. He's like, it sounds like a joke to us, but he knows it's a joke too. He's just saying you're forcing our hand. So good, no problem there, right? If not only he, but the entire Senate Democratic caucus agrees to this, then great. Then we got no problems. That Martin Luther King Day is 11 days from now. Okay, so I guess in 11 days everything will be solved. But I would be shocked. So I don't know why he said that, when I think it has, by January 17th, I think it has about a 2% chance of happening.
I agree. Listen, I hope we're both wrong, because they had more days behind them than this, making this date be on MLK Day. And you're right. Listen, Senator Schumer is saying all the right things. I'll give it to him. I'll check off that box. But in true tribute to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would have been to have worked on this many months ago. It is also to fight for Build Back Better and the components that still remain in there, even though they're weaker than what was proposed. It is truly in the spirit of Dr. King, who challenged this country for its sins against the poor, is to have paid family medical leave, is to secure voting rights, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you and I can go on and on with this. So for me, I just find it a bit trite to continue to try to use Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Day to make this ultimatum when the true spirit and legacy of Dr. King knows not just one day, that these actions from the filibuster to making sure that people have paid family leave, can afford their prescriptions, can afford food, is really the foundational point of what Dr. King represents. I want to see some more righteous indignation than we just hope that the Republicans cooperate. How about getting your own house in order, which is dealing with the Democrats first, and we'll deal with the Republicans on the way?
Yeah, so Nina, I'm going to keep it super real here. I now, yeah, look, I always want to push for the most, and then, at the very last second, if you're going to do a deal, get the best deal you can, and that's normal negotiation for any rational person. And coming in, I thought it was obvious that they had to get rid of the filibuster, otherwise they couldn't really pass anything. And I thought not passing anything it's not unacceptable in terms of just policy, but in terms of politics, it's nearly political suicide for the Democrats to not pass anything. So, but now I'm at a point where I realize, no, Democratic leadership is just, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to do almost anything, and so they're going to. At this point, I would guess that they're almost definitely going to keep most of the filibuster because it protects their donors. So they cannot get rid of that security blanket for their donors. Otherwise, they're all going to be embarrassed that they keep voting against what they claimed were democratic principles. So they got to keep it for Machiavellian, horrible political reasons. So I'm at a point, and I'm curious where you are. And that's why I said in the school of keeping it real, I'm at a point where I'll take the democracy exception to just pass voting rights, because I actually think that's probably the maximum of what we can get in a Biden administration with this Democratic Senate.
Yeah, I mean, but they have us right where they want us. And you're right, both of these things can be true at the same time. They always want us to be able to accept the least that they can do. However, you are absolutely right. When it comes to something of this magnitude, we can't just say, no, don't accept the exception. No, we have to accept the exception, but at the same time, not accept the exception, if that makes sense. And so I'm tired of playing to the least common denominator. And that is why it is so important that the work that you're doing, the work that the members are doing, but to have people who do have the courage to run for these seats and buck against the status quo. That is the only thing that's going to save us. And let us not let the Republicans off the hook, because we got Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who argued that the bills create an unfair advantage in elections and violate states' rights. And he's referring to the voting rights bills that are in the Senate right now, namely the John Lewis voting rights law. And imagine the flipping nerve of him to say that it is an unfair advantage in elections and violates states' rights. Meanwhile, in a state near you, the Republicans on the state levels of government are doing everything that they can to make it harder for people to exercise their right to vote.
It's important context for people to know that literally every law that the Republicans have passed in all those different states that they control restrict voting rights. None of them add to voting rights. So Mitch McConnell is saying letting more people vote in a democracy would hurt voting rights. And that's just logically impossible. It makes no sense at all. What he's actually saying is it would hurt Republicans' chances of winning if more people voted. And so it's super obvious, and obviously our members have written in about how the Republicans are unsalvageable, and it's And it's true. You're not going to get Republicans who have been saying since Paul Weyrich said it in 1980 that they want less people to vote so they can win elections. You're not going to get them to magically turn around and go, oh, right, oh, democracy. I forgot about democracy. Yeah, sure, we should do the right thing. It's a little stunning. Well, in fact, let me ask that question to you. Like, do you think I think there's some chance that Joe Biden actually thinks Republicans mean well, and others in the Democratic Party think, oh, they mean well, we just have differences of opinion. But that seems stunning to any average person. Like, of course they don't mean well. Of course they want less people voting. What do you think? Do people in Democratic leadership who keep constantly talking about how the Republicans should be stronger, do they really think the Republicans are honest actors? Can they be that naive?
I think some of them do, and certainly people from President Biden's generation and navigation of the halls of Congress at the time that he was there, certainly the experience and the interaction. And we're dealing with a totally different Democratic Party for the most part, with the exception of there were some segregationists still alive when Senator Biden navigated those halls. But I do think that he comes from an era where he believes that they mean well. Remember when he was running, one of the attributes he said that he brought to the table that our dear Senator Sanders did not, was that he would be able to reach across the aisle and be able to work with Republicans and get them to do the right thing. He also said that he thought that they were, and I'm paraphrasing him, acting up and acting out solely because President Trump was the president. But as soon as he becomes president, they're going to magically do the right thing. Now that took away the fact that Senator Bernie Sanders got more legislation and amendments passed than anybody in the Senate, and he had to work across the aisle to get that done. But the major selling point in terms of electability, as we all remember, was that then Senator Joe Biden said that he would be able to get the Republicans to act right.
Yeah. What I'm really afraid of is that he actually believes that.
I think he does.
There's a 0% chance that Joe Biden or anyone else on the planet will get the Republicans to act right. 0%. That one I'm super clear on. All right, before we move on, I'll read a comment or two. Happily Vax wrote in, a democracy carve out is the worst possible solution. It means Democrats will not do any other carve out, but Republicans will do their own carve outs once they have power. Best get rid of the filibuster, and if you want to do it partially, let them talk about the bill on hand and have 60 people vote to keep talking. So here's the deal. You're happily Vax, you're absolutely right about the fact that it's the only carve out you'll get if you get it. And you're absolutely right that the Republicans will take away the filibuster the minute they're in power, and will pass their entire agenda. But I now think that that's the best case scenario. Now that's absurd. Like, that's a horrible case scenario, right? That's where we are, guys. The Democrats aren't going to do any more than that. That's my sense of it. So good luck to us all. But we all know that Republicans are going to take away the filibuster, and we all and if the Democrats took away the filibuster now and passed their agenda, I would be floored. I would be. It would be the most shocking thing that's ever happened in politics.
I double dare them to do it. We dare them to do it. Please do it. Use the power. I mean, power is finite. You have to use it. And why they are so afraid to use it, I mean, God only knows. Well, I think we know a little bit too. It is because we're dealing with the corporatists in both wings of the party, and they are very much united in thwarting progress in this country. Those are the facts.
Yep. So buckle up, everybody. When Republicans get back in power, we're all in a world of hurt because Democrats refuse.
They're going to use the power.
Yeah. They're going to use it. Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
All right, Yasmin H wrote it on Super Chat. Love Nina and Dr. Ritchie. Thank you for all you do from the UK. That's lovely to hear. J Dog Darkness wrote it on Twitch. Keep it strong, Nina and Cenk. Can't stop, won't stop. Surrender isn't an option. Somebody let the Dems know. Happy New Year's. And Melanie D44 said, "We got your back, Nina." And Rue Bird said, "Corp Dems are good with symbolic gestures. It will be a major fail if it doesn't pass with MLK optics." Buckle up then, brace for impact.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.